The board was exceptionally well-intentioned in terms of the ask that they brought forward to the district, and it shouldn't have been a surprise to any of the politicians, because I know that the board's been speaking to the politicians around the need for a reserve fund. So the ask that came forward to the district, which was consistent with the budget timetable that the district has before them, was simply to start developing a reserve fund for whatever model gets selected down the road. The task force has not completed their deliberations. They're still looking at the 3 models that we've talked about out in the public. Our estimation or our hope is that sometime this spring, the task force will bring forward a preferred model for the board to consider, and that the final submission hopefully would be towards the end of 2018. So the simple ask that the board brought forward was just, let's start developing that reserve or that bank account to be able to pay for whatever gets selected down the road. And it was just consistent with the timetable of the district around their budget deliberations. And so the choice of words that was used by the vice chair was, he referred to it as an asset that is not currently available. And I think people jump to that as being bricks and mortar or a building, and assume that was the one-site model that the board had previously put forward back in 2015. The asset that he was referring to is a financial asset, that type of a war chest or building fund to begin to be developed, and that would be what we don't have in place right now. So it is not currently available. We do not have a reserve fund for capital into the future, and that's what was meant. At the same time, and maybe this is what added to some of the confusion, they did talk as well about our current capital and infrastructure needs at the organization. We know today, and we've talked about it at the municipalities when I've gone around and spoken to the different councils, that we in the next 3 to 5 years have a need, just today and in the next 3 to 5 years, forgetting about the reserve fund into the future, about $9 million in capital equipment and renovations that are required. And then we have infrastructure needs that total up to about 30 million. So that's the other 39 million that they talked about, which I think people are confusing with the reserve fund for capital redevelopment, and then our current needs around infrastructure and equipment and furnishings for the hospital. So they're 2 separate things. Back in 2015, so not to confuse people, but back in 2015, there was an estimation of what the local share cost might be. And so those numbers have been thrown around as well. And that was anywhere between 84 million to 114 million. And if people go back on our website and have a look at that, they'll see that the 84 million local share, which is the bricks and mortar, the 10% that the ministry expects us to raise, and then the additional furnishings and equipment that might be required for the one-site model was about 84 million, and for the 2-site non-status quo model was 114 million. So those are just place card holders at this point, because clearly we have to pick the model, we have to redo our analysis of what the final cost would be to build, and then determine what the local share. But that was an order of magnitude that was being shared with the district.